Live, and I'll show you my Bond stuff. We'll talk about.
Okay, we are live. I'm doing it like they do movies that made me with Joe Dante, where you just let a lot of trash comments just go on, and then you say, "Okay, now we're live."
Oh, is that what we did?
Not
Oh,
trash. Yeah, yeah,
oh, so we've
not
been live for a little
trash.
bit.
No, we
I need to
haven't.
adjust my camera. You can see my legs. No, that's good though.
Yeah, yeah,
You can see the whole drawing. That's okay.
yeah. You can
I'll
see
just have
the.
to remember not to scratch myself.
Yeah, I try to keep that in mind myself
but
while I'm doing this.
by the way, your book is supposed to be here tomorrow. I don't know why Amazon Prime is not. I don't. I just paid $119 for a year of Prime, and I might as well have burned my money because Prime is not Prime. If you order something non-essential, they'll say, "Well, we're giving priority to essential stuff." If you order something essential, they'll say they're out of stock.
Yeah.
It's the biggest scam right now. But
Well,
whatever.
yeah, that book, it's print on demand, so
Right.
they literally have to make it. So it's kind of like ordering your hamburger, and you don't want to have an instant hamburger. Well,
Well,
you
that's
have
true.
you do
That's
you
well,
do.
yeah. I don't know. You'd never see me eat. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
so
I mean
is that a copy of the book there of your book?
this is a nasty looking copy that I hope you get a better one of it. It's before I changed the cover,
Oh
and I've
yeah.
ordered 5 of them with the new cover. I hope they should be arriving. And so, yeah, this is the book, not for resale. It's a proof. So I looked through it, and I found several things I wanted to change. Typos and stuff.
Oh well, maybe that's why it's
And
delayed. Maybe
no. Yeah,
they're
yeah,
they're
they do
making your.
have to. The new version, no, no. I eventually just had to give up on them because they made an annoying note to me that all of a sudden my cover didn't work when it had worked before.
Oh
And it's
God.
like, okay, now come on, now what have I got to recalculate to make it work now? And so
Yeah.
I've just left that as a draft. No, you'll be getting what I get, what I'm about to get. So I'll just have to be happy with it. It becomes too much hassle to try to dig in and do little micro changes after you upload it.
Oh gosh, it'd be
And
like
so
updating a web page.
yeah, just go in and use a yellow marker and show me everything you mark up where I obviously did something wrong.
Me?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead and do
No,
that
I
for me.
thought so. They're going to deface my copy? No, I'm paying good
Yeah,
money
no,
for it.
yeah, I know. Well,
I will tell you if there's anything that I think you did wrong.
yeah, thanks for buying it. And anybody else that wants to see a guy's first time script, look me up. I'll leave a link to it. And look me up on Amazon and buy a copy of it. It's a pretty interesting little script that goes on about exactly as long as a script ought to go for this type of genre, which is kind of horror fantastic. Goes on for about 110 pages, and it's also got dialogue in it, so it's not that hard to read. So, I tried to be have a lot of brevity to it. Not too wordy.
I'll be the
Yeah,
judge of.
yeah. Give me the give
I'll
me.
give feedback. Hey, if it's good, I'll steal it, draw it, and sell it as my own comic.
There is still that potential that it might be turned into a comic after all is said and done. Because I mean, it's like anything. Uh, like you sat around and you could have been working on your own IP, but instead you waited for the fruit of a writer's labor, right? On
Yes,
Heaven's Rejects here.
yes. Well,
And,
we're co-creators, but yeah.
yeah,
Well, and that's the thing. Well, it's funny you say that because I am working on issue 4. Issue 4 is the last of the miniseries. And for the first time in ages, I don't have anything else to draw after this. and for like, since I've started this, I've turned down freelance work, not a lot, but I haven't looked for, I've neglected to look for work. So I'm like, what am I going to do? And
Yeah.
immediately my mind, because this is how my brain is programmed to think. I go, well, maybe I'll do like some Marvel samples and see if it's like, wait a minute, wait, what? You know,
That is just your programming. You really
that is
need
my that
to,
is my programming. I don't need to.
because that whole thing is dead for a guy that that's just going to always be one of those things you kind of wish you did, but you've already
With
come to the realization that it probably wasn't that big a deal to been doing it anyway.
working at Marvel
Other than it
or
being on
working
your
at,
resume.
yeah,
Other
no,
than
I mean, it'd be cool. Don't get me wrong. Well, my goal now is to be that's Marvel. That's or work for Hire Comics. That's the in my mind now. That's a retirement job.
yeah,
You know, I mean, the guy that really, and of course, I'm gonna say who it is, but to me, the guy that has the ultimate position in comics right now is John Byrne, because he's drawn that comic of his own, that X-Men comic. Nobody's publishing it. He's just selling the originals, and they're selling for 2 and 3 grand a piece.
wow.
And
And he's got that body of work where someone is going to find that irresistible someday to tell him, yeah, 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 we're going to do a book of this.
oh, I don't know. He got tired of playing the waiting on Marvel dance, and so
Well,
he is
he's
with
not.
he is
He's not.
withdrawn it. They did not publish it. He withdrew it from them. He just said, you know what? They've told me a couple times we'll get back with you, and they never have. And they've and he's like, no, you know what? I don't need it because they need the money, and he knows he's gonna make his money on selling the original art. And this way, he has no editorial interference. He has nobody to, he doesn't have an inker to split pages with. He doesn't have, you know, but what he has is he has that body of doing the X-Men back in the '80s that makes people want to buy these pages.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it'd be cool. I mean, I love Marvel. I've been reading Bronze Age Marvels, a lot of Bronze Age Marvels lately, and I feel like when they were good, they were really good. They were, and I know a lot of people decry the Bronze Age, as I mean, and I don't have anything against the Silver Age either, but I just think that maybe some of their better ideas were behind them. I don't know if they'll ever shine as brightly as they shined. You know, I've been watching that show Comic Book Men. Have you ever seen that? The Kevin
No,
Smith
no.
series?
Oh
Oh, it's
God,
on.
I have a hard time warming up to anything. The moment I see Kevin Smith's name on something,
Yeah.
I was one of those guys that it just went right over my head that I should enjoy Clerks. I just didn't get it. I didn't get it, and of course that made him. So after
Yeah.
that, it's like you want a little of that Kevin Smith
Yeah.
experience. It's like no, thanks anyway.
No.
I've already
Um.
sampled him at his most charismatic, I
you,
guess.
and you were out. I
I was
like.
out.
Well, I was watching The Sopranos, and man, I just couldn't take it anymore. It was just too bleak and too. And I was like, I mean, life is bleak enough right now. We're under a pandemic, and I was like, I need. And so I
Oh,
thought,
really? Really? How far did you get in the Sopranos? See if I remember.
the last momentous thing that I remember, and I watched a few episodes after that, was when Chris set on his girlfriend's dog and killed it. No, wait a minute.
Oh
No, no,
no.
no. That was when he went to rehab, wasn't it? I've watched quite a bit after that. I can't remember. That was the thing. It just got to be so.
Well, let's see. When
Yeah.
he's in rehab, is that where he meets the Hollywood guy that?
No, it was before that.
Okay.
The one that when he goes on the set and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, we want some of that Streets of Fire or whatever,"
Yeah. Yeah.
and he's like telling him, "Oh no, you wouldn't say that," and then they never went anywhere with that. You know?
Well, it kind of goes somewhere eventually because it shows that Christopher's untrustworthy. He doesn't
Oh,
get it. He doesn't get it that
that he's
he's a
got a
mobster and it's their thing, and you don't go around acting like you're involved in sharing your thing
right.
with these people.
Well, and that's the thing is his girlfriend has been picked up, and she is so she's kind
She
of
she
you
vomits
know.
all over the
Oh
conference
yeah.
room table.
Hang on just a
God.
second. I gotta grab something out of reach of my headphones. Hang on.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm back. Anyway, so I was watching The Sopranos, and I just got tired of it. I was just like, I can't
Yeah.
take it. It was just too much, you know. Start reading the Lee Ditko run of Doctor Strange. Good stuff. I have the Essentials #1 of Doctor Strange. It is very good stuff. Um, my obsession with the Bronze Age, a lot of it comes out of studying the How to Draw Comics the Marvel way. Also, I don't know if I showed you this, Ellis. I found this when I
Let's
was
see
cleaning
it.
my when I was cleaning my
Let me
room. I'll,
focus
I'll,
on you.
I'll stand a little bit closer so you can see it. Anyway, this is this Spider-Man that I found. It's just a book that I had when I was a kid, and it's drawn by the layouts are by Keith Pollard, and the finishes are by Jim Mooney. Now
Huh.
I talked to you about Jim Mooney, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was friends with Stan Lee like in the 40s, and I've got a couple things of his art, and it's very basic Bronze Age art. But man, I get to looking at it. It's like, man, this is so good. This stuff is so good.
If it's good storytelling,
It's great
you respond to it.
storytelling, and I can see why, as a kid, I was more enamored with like the flashy inks of like Terry Austin, because I'm a big John Byrne fan.
Hmm.
But it's like, holy cow! I mean, I've learned. I mean, I've read this book 100 times since I found it. It's great because it takes place in a museum, the Metropolitan Museum of Art. My wife and I were just there in January, but the storytelling is great. Just how he mixes up all the angles and it's like, man. Anyway, so all of this has kind of got me obsessed with the Bronze Age. So I've got a book. Jim Mooney drew the original run on Omega the Unknown, and so I've got that on order, a trade of that on order. I think I'm supposed to get it. I don't know. I found one cheap online. Um, so that's what I've been studying that, and then I got that Rich Buckler anatomy book, and so I've been kind of immersing myself in the Bronze Age lately. Um, the other thing I wanted to talk about was James Bond. Now,
Yeah, yeah.
Are you a James Bond fan?
Oh, yeah. I was
Did you?
there when they came out.
So have you read
All
the
of them.
books?
Yeah, I have read all of them, but it's been a while.
So okay. So on another podcast that I'm on, Better Than Fiction, Ellis is on sometimes. The one of the guys suggested that we read James Bond books, the Fleming James Bond books in what you call it, ramp up to the release of the new Bond movie. And so the
Which
first
is
one,
all the way till November, right?
right? So we got. I've already read Casino
Got
Royale, so I'm
got
ahead of the
plenty
curve.
of time.
I got
Yeah.
plenty of time. Anyway, so I was like, I know I've got those books. So I had these paperbacks, and these are when I was a kid. These were the ones I read them all on because these were
Oh, yeah.
everywhere. They sold tons of them in the '60s, but mine are not in the best of shape. Some of them are kind of valuable. They vary. They're either falling apart or they're in good shape, and I'm afraid they'll be worth a little bit. So I have in the '90s, I bought all of the James Bond books in hardcover. But the problem was they had this weird cover on. I can't find the dust. Hang on just a second. Let me grab one thing. I'll be
Okay.
right over here.
Scott personalizes his stuff with dust
Okay.
jackets and yeah. Go ahead.
So this is the dust jacket. So this is the one that was on. This is what the series look like that I have. I've got them all.
Yeesh.
Oh, I know. How terrible is that? And it's like, oh
Man.
my gosh, it's just. At the time, I thought it was kind of cool, but it's just so cheesy.
Yeah,
So
that's my first reaction. Is cheesy.
it's very cheesy looking, not appropriate. So what I did is I made a Photoshop file, and so
Yeah,
I now have I duplicated the paperback cover,
sure.
but at the size to fit my hardcovers. So now,
Excellent.
it took me a little bit to put it together, but I was able to find
That's
good.
sweet. But it's got that one little spot of really rich illustration in it with all that
Yeah,
type around it. It's
yeah,
like they
exactly.
said, oh, they went with that style. That was the style.
That was the style, so that's what I went with. And I'm not. It's not perfect. I found the font that kind of matched the proportions aren't the same, so I had to kind of refigure it out. And this is the best art I can find. I'm not gonna, And I used some of the backs had the list of all the books, and some of them had a little blurb. I'm really making this easy on myself. I made a Photoshop file, and the only thing, all you got to change is like the picture, the blur, that, and then that, and you're good to go. And the background,
Yeah.
and the flood
No,
of color.
I can see wanting to read them with that kind of jacket on them. Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes
it's
more
just
sense.
so I got this, and I did. That was my project. I think I did that last night or yesterday evening or whatever. Um, I've read the first book, man. I, you know, I love the James Bond series. I grew up. Uh, I grew up on the movies originally because I used to see them. They were on the I think it's the ABC Movie of the Week, and they would show them during. It seemed like they always showed Bond movies during the summer. They come on Sundays, and I had seen them as a kid that way. Because that was one of the big things they did is they'd show the Bond movies during the summer, and of course, they didn't show them in order or anything like that. But so when I got a little bit older, I started reading the books, and I just really, the atmosphere and stuff is just really good. Oh, and then I don't want to grab it. I bought a book called I don't even see it. It may be downstairs, but it's a book. The guy has gone through all of the James Bond books. This is all the Fleming books, the original books, and he has basically any kind of product, or he is and they're annotated, but and so I mean he'll go through and anything is mentioned, any character will talk about. It's got a chronology that is like basically where was Bond every day,
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's and he backs it up and even talks about how there's stuff in the book that contradicts other books and stuff, But it's pretty cool. It's got diagrams. For example, one of the crazy things is in one of the I don't think it may have been in Casino Royale. It's several of Bond gambles though. It goes through every hand of whatever game he's playing. Here's
Oh
what he
man, yeah, that's one of those things where an author sometimes is a little too close to what he
well,
thinks is important, and he'll give you all that information, and it's like, hey, you're taking me out of the story here.
well, and Fleming was good. Fleming loved those kind of details.
Yeah, he loved games like that. He loved
And
golf games.
the chapter on Goldfinger has a layout of whatever the golf course is they played.
Yeah,
And I mean, you don't have to read all that, but I think it's cool that it's there. I mean, that's what I wanted the book for. So I'm gonna read.
yeah. Yeah, and it's not like I'm running Fleming down. He was a good storyteller. I mean,
Oh,
those are good stories.
you
You
would be
know.
going against the grain to run him down. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh yeah.
they're not, it's not War and Peace or whatever, but within its, limitations, it's really good stuff.
And of its time, it was
Oh,
exactly
yeah.
everything everybody was talking about was Russia and America, and that had us pretty well preoccupied.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and it's like I just read this book by Isaac Asimov that's written in the 70s, and there's so many attitudes towards women and that sort of thing that at the time didn't really even register, but you just go, oh wow, that's and Bond has some of that stuff too, for
Sure.
sure. Um,
No, and he used to be.
and he was a snob. He's big,
Well, yeah, yeah, and
but I think that's a British thing.
oh yeah.
That's why we kicked him out of our country. Anyway, so that's what I've been up to lately. Reading
Very
Bond books, working, inking my comic, or drawing. I've got all my pages. Well, I've got. No, that's not true. Well, you have to understand my process. I'm at the point where I got to get a bunch of pages inked before I can move further, basically.
And you're shipping all this off to be colored, right?
Well, not. I mean, I'm digitally shipping it off, but yes, I'm
Right,
not. I
right.
am not. I'm not coloring it. In fact, I talked to the writer. I think it was Sunday, or maybe it was last Sunday, and he was kind of giving me the if you'd scan issue 3, I could take it to the colorist. So I really should be working on that.
Well, yeah, yeah.
But
Get that pipeline going.
yeah, scanning is not as fun as drawing, though, Ellis.
Ooh,
No.
it's no brainer work. You like to work your brain harder than I do. I like
Mm-hmm.
scanning stuff.
Oh, you do?
Oh
Well,
yeah,
what kind of scanner you got?
I've got mine is too small. It's
Oh,
eight. It's 11 by, you know, eight and a
oh,
half,
8.5 by
nine by
11.
11, whatever.
Oh yeah, I got 11 by 17 scanner, man. Probably one of the best purchases I've ever made in my life was that. It and
I need those things don't cost that much. I need one too.
nah, I paid less than $200 for mine.
Exactly.
And mine, man, what's crazy? Mine is it's a Brother, and it's a printer scanner. And Michelle has been using the crap out of it to print out because she's been working at home. And for anybody listening, my wife is an electrical engineer, and she needs to print out blueprints. And she can just barely print them out big enough to read. And if she didn't, I don't know. If she didn't have that, I don't know what she'd do. She might have to. I don't know. But anyway, so I use I use that a lot in my process, the printer part. And I never really even wanted a printer that big. But man, at the pandemic, at one point, one of the colors ran out, and I go, I'm about out of this. And so I ordered
What's
ink, and
run out of black?
I forget what color it was, but it was low enough where it's like we can't print. So I put a new cartridge in, and I was like, that's the last That's the last yellow. I think it was a color, but anyway. So I ordered more off of Amazon, and it's like, cheap. If you go on Amazon and buy ink, do you know like how cheap it is? I bought I think it was 4 sets of CMYK ink, which is magenta, cyan, magenta, yellow, black. I think it came with an extra black, so I think it may have been 5. The set may have 5 in it. I think I got like 4 of them, and dude, it was like $9.
Really?
Holy,
I thought people bought new printers every now and then because ink was such a ripoff.
no,
I
that's
mean,
people that.
it's gone
Well,
down then.
well, but it wasn't factory. It's that factory ink that kills people.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is.
Oh, you got a substitute.
Yeah, it's knockoff off of Amazon. I don't care. It's still ink, man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm not printing. Stuff I
Well, that's
print is,
another.
it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm printing, the stuff that goes on the back of the art. No one will see it unless they buy my art and flip it over.
You've just about talked me into buying my own version of what you got. Yep.
Well, don't let me
Because
spend your money.
It is quite a tool. I use this printer all the time for doing this and that. And, a printer is a great little tool to have around, and then having that extra thing, that much bigger scanner, that'd be great.
Oh yeah, like I said, I was looking for a scanner, and the one I wanted was like a Moose Tech, which I don't think they even make anymore, and it was like $800. I go, crap, I don't want to spend that much money. And so somehow I come across a Brother. It's big. That's the only thing. I had to buy a table to put it on. I bought a little. I don't know what the table is. Some kind of weird end table or something. It's heavy. It's a big bulky piece. But it's a decent printer. Not the great, but I mean it's an inkjet printer. But the scanner works really good. Once you kind of get it, you got to kind of figure it out. It's like any scanner though.
Oh yeah, man, it's like any techie thing. It's going to break your heart before you finally figure it out.
Man, I bought scanners at work because they updated our Windows and they said, "Oh, your scanner's not going to work." And for anyone that is listening or whatever, at my work, I work at a company that makes awards like trophies and stuff, and I'm in charge of our medals part. So I make medallions like first, second, third place medals, which you would think would be pretty straightforward, but it's actually kind of crazy. But because of that, and one of the things we do is police badges. And so we'll get them in and we got to scan them. Well, most scanners, the depth of field is too small for that. And because they're bent, they're dapped. And so it gets blurry on the edges. And so I was looking and finally I found one. And so I told my boss, and they were like, yeah, they're like $70, so they weren't real expensive. But he said, well, I said if they're good, I'd like to order 2 more. It's like, well, just go ahead and order them. And I'm thought, oh crap, I hope they're good. And they were great, man. I feel like I got very fortunate, but I did a lot of research. Because yeah, like you say, a lot of times you buy crap and you're like, oh man, this sucks.
Yeah, I've been my reading of late has been that cowboy book you gave me.
Oh yeah,
I'm exactly halfway through and just finished the story.
Gosh. That's like 1,200 pages.
No, it's very thick stock. It's only 500 pages.
Oh, and it is.
Yeah,
gosh, the book's huge.
Yeah, it's it looks huge. But like I say, it's, I spent the first 20 pages I was reading constantly feeling the page, trying to get it to split. It's that thick. I was constantly rubbing it. But they're great, and it is so much fun to see Elmore Leonard grow through all that, because he's obviously experimenting and all that. Because these are his first sales. I mean, these are the first thing he sold. And it's fun. I've also been thinking a lot now that I've got this Locust Bride in, it's basically, like I said, it's been in my introduction. You read my introduction and gave me a lot of notes on it. It's like I say, it's like throwing it out of a moving car. Supposedly, if it's good enough, it'll get made. And so I've thrown it out the window of a moving car, and I'm done now. I mean, I'm not going to be trying to pitch it or anything. It's out there. Maybe I'll try to somehow be that annoying guy that gets it in somebody else's hands if I figure. But mainly, I'd like to get it to somebody in like Netflix or something like that might potentially have a use for a little little spec script laying around or something. Maybe get some money back for having done it. We'll see. We'll see what I come up with on that front.
So is it?
I think I've entered it in every contest I'm going to enter it in, which is only one of them. Only one of them.
Is it? It's a script though, right?
Yeah, it is a movie script. What's sad though, I've got this book called "Your Screenplay Sucks," and it talks about one of the sure ways to get your screenplay just ignored is little format things. So I was real meticulous on my format and stuff. And so then it turns out that one of my biggest things that really annoyed me when I saw it, how it came through after I got the proof back and noticed it, is that final draft makes certain like headings that people expect the headings to be all caps.
Oh yeah.
When a character is talking.
Oh yeah.
And it must have been like key sensitive or something in retrospect, because some of it works fine, and then some of it goes back to a smaller type, and that's really annoying when you see that and say somebody's going to look at that and say, forget it, this guy doesn't understand how to write a script. But, I probably, if I wanted to edit just one thing, I should have a note that says, I have a final draft version of this that it looks just fine.
But, ignore what Amazon did to
ignore this formatting, yeah. And I guess that's what did it to it, is the Kindle creator did it to it.
Oh yeah, it's funny you talk about this, because I was approached recently by someone. I don't want to say their name, and they asked me. They saw that I'm working with a publisher. I won't say the name of the publisher. It's not really a secret, but and they said, are they interested? What did they say? Oh, they said, what kind of stuff do they publish? I said, well, they publish all kinds of stuff. This was months ago. We had this conversation, like in February, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So then the other day, I get a continuation of that same. This is on Facebook Messenger. Same continuation. Yeah. Do they publish spy stories? I go, well, I said, I don't know if they do, but they do all kinds of stuff. Well, how do you word it? I am a published novelist, and I have 2 books that would be great comic books.
Right.
So I said, he said, would you see if they'd be interested in them? And I said, well, first off, I was reminded of when I was a kid, and we were at my wife and I. Geez, Freudian slip. My mom, my parents, and I were at a restaurant, whatever restaurant. This happened more than once. And I would say, hey, I tell my parents, hey, I want, more soda. And my parents always said, you have to ask for it. They always because my parents wanted me to be the kind of person that when I grew up would ask for stuff I wanted. And that was the first thing I thought of, was like, well, it's your story. You should ask them. It wasn't even like, hey, who do I need to talk to? It was like, would you ask them if...
Yeah, no, that is the only way to do that. Is like you be the guy that does that. You don't come in and say, "Hey, I'm a friend of your friend."
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody wants to hear that from you.
Exactly. And so anyway, so I said, okay, I said, well, do you have a script written? No, I've never written a script. Okay. And I've ran into that before. People that have now his is quote published, and I mean yours is published too. But I mean, the barrier to getting
publish on demand, yeah.
His is published. So yeah. I don't know if it's on demand, or I mean, I don't know who. I looked up his publisher, and it was a place in the same town he lives in. So, you can draw your own conclusions. Anyway, and it may be a great book. That's why I'm not mentioning, because I don't know.
Well, the deal is,
but it's like,
go ahead.
Well,
Go
I was
ahead.
going to say, do you know how much work it is to make a novel into a comic? I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it's like no one is, And so I asked my writer, and he said, well, like everybody else, their belts are pretty tight right now, but you know, I said,
No,
don't
he'd
tell me
have to
that.
bring he'd have to bring something to the table like that. It's like a guy being able to get a movie made because he's got the name. It's like some celebrity
Yeah,
comes along and if he's ready to give you the cachet of his worth to a project. Wow, thanks a lot.
you're
We're,
right.
we're there. We're there for you. But if
Well,
it's
what do
somebody,
you bring?
yeah.
Yeah,
What do you bring?
what do you bring to the table? Yeah, his book
Yeah,
is. I looked, his Amazon ranking for his book is like, like 5 million and something.
yeah, like mine. Yeah,
Yeah, well, yeah. Anyway,
sure. I mean,
but yours is a script,
right.
and
It's a movie script, that again is a totally different animal than a comic script.
yeah,
You,
but at least you've thought about dialogue.
yeah, at least I've broken it down into
Yes,
shots and stuff like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Anyway,
But but that what is it? Bendis's book on words and pictures. It's a
oh
good
yeah,
read, and as a matter of fact, anybody that wants to do writing or art should read Words and Pictures because
yep,
he tells you exactly all the stuff people get wrong. It's nice to know everything you don't want to do in
yep,
one spot. He tells you everything you can do wrong while you're thinking about writing for comics and or what you or how you ought to be thinking about how to do your visuals as well. A little bit. He doesn't. He's mainly a writer, right? I mean, that's what he
yeah.
does.
Well,
So,
he
but
has
he's got a contribution to make for the artist too.
well. Here's the thing about Bendis. I have a lot of respect for Bendis because I always run to people that say, "Oh, I want to make comics, and I can't draw." And I can't draw and I can't afford to hire an artist. And Bendis, he can't draw and he made comics, or he can kind of draw maybe, or but he used photography, he used
Yeah, there's
you
no
know
excuse.
yeah, I mean, because people will whine about that incessantly online in certain Facebook groups. And I mean, I get it, yeah, but and I don't want to get into the whole, but they just like, oh, every artist I talk to wants to get paid,
You
well,
want to get paid, yeah.
I contend if you say that, you're looking in the wrong spot for your artist.
Yeah.
You've got the best advice I ever got was from Travis Wright, who's the publisher at Source Point Press, who'll probably be publishing this comic, but he said you got to kind of know. He said the problem is when you're trying to break in or whatever, you've got to know your level. And what he meant was you've got to find where you're at and find appropriate collaborators. And so, like in conjunction with me, what he told me is I had to find a writer because I was doing all this stuff, and I would either get paid. Sorry, or I'd get paid. It was either like for an anthology, and I just kind of sat there, and nothing came out of it, or I'd get paid, and then I'd get 3, 4, $500, whatever it was, and then like the book wouldn't come out, or
Right.
I mean, it just. He said you've got to find, and so that's what we talked. That's what I talked about with him, and he said find a writer, because I told him, I said I don't need. I mean, a $50 page rate is not going to change my life. I'd rather work on something that's going to be a real project, and I want, and so I'm not worried about that. So these people that say, well, you need to find I can't find an artist. I would say, well, you're not looking right, or maybe you're not bringing enough to the table. Maybe because the thing was,
like you say, they're not thinking enough, and they think they want Jack Kirby, and what they could be doing is going out and doing a photo shoot with friends and running a filter on the photos and having all the art they'd ever need.
Yep.
It might be more fun. It might be more film-like to do that.
Might be a unique look.
Yeah. And it would tell your story.
Or maybe they're being too demanding of, maybe they're like, well, I don't want to work with this guy because, or again, you have to bring something to the table or no one's going to work with you.
Joe Bob, Joe Bob on the Joe Bob's drive-in that occurs on Shudder, which I have a subscription to, had a big rant just this last weekend on this subject of from this day forward, quit calling yourself a guy that wants to get a break.
Yes.
Because in this era, you can just make a note that you are a filmmaker starting today, and just start doing what you can do with the money you've got, which can amount to almost nothing. And then, I took this to heart too. If I really wanted to make a short that caught people's attention, I could get it done. It could happen. But he talks about the fact that all you have to do is go to your local theater groups. You can get all kinds of people. Just if you're good at scheduling and all that, you can get people just happy to work with you that have acting chops.
Then they would love to have some credit and some screen time.
Sure.
Yeah, well that's kind of what Travis was saying. Find your niche that you fit in,
Find your speed. We always called it I
like that. That's it. Yeah, I'm convinced, at least when it comes to comics, that, and I imagine movies are the same way, there are more people that like the idea of having the occupation and whatever perceived status you get, whatever that is, which is, ridiculous. But then people that actually want to do the job,
Yeah, it's going to be just hard work. All this stuff, all these creative fields.
Oh, geez.
And these great directors will just tell you that you got to want to do nothing but this. Michael Mann, he's just telling you straight up. In a couple of interviews I read with him, it's like, well, if you want to do this, you're going to do nothing else,
Yeah. It just takes time. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it, and going back to the guy with the story, with the book, it's obvious he's just wanting to make a couple bucks off this book he's already written.
Yeah.
It's like, well, dude, if you're not even, if you believe in it, you could write, at the very least, the very minimum, you could write, if you had a book that you thought would make a good comic series, adapt the first chapter. You've already got written, you wrote it, adapt the first chapter into a comic series to prove that you can do it. Because otherwise you're like, hey, I want you to make me some money off of this project. That's just sitting on Amazon.
Speaking of making money, I ought to check that real quick on my Gmail. I'll do that. I'll be right back with you. No, I don't have to go anywhere. I can tell you how it goes live. Here it
Why?
is,
What
KDP.
did you win the
In other
Did
words,
you win the lottery?
yep.
You
Kindle
did.
Direct Publishing says I made some money. Let me look it up. How much I
Oh,
made?
you did?
Yeah, it's probably showing me your purchase of my script. Let's see
Oh,
how many.
well, I didn't buy the script. I just bought the book.
The book. Yeah. Let's see. Huh. It must be an automatic note to me, and I don't see that anything's been ordered. So it's like the monthly note that you're doing just as badly as you ever done.
Oh,
I
that's
don't
either.
see. I don't see anything.
Well, depending on your past, badly as you've ever done could be good or good or bad.
Yeah.
Well, you've sold one. I know that for a fact.
Here we go.
Did you get compensated?
No, huh? No. Let's see.
No. Well, I haven't. To be fair, I haven't got it yet.
Well, yeah. No, no. No, this would be probably for the past month.
Oh, what were you selling a month ago? You have all kinds of stuff, don't
Well, I
you?
mean, yeah, you've got a artist page, you know.
Oh,
Oh well. Anyway, that was a big dud.
oh well. We were excited
Because
for nothing.
I got a note on my iPad here. It said, "Hey, KDP
Hey,
royalty
my
announcement."
royalty.
Oh, all
We're
right.
royalty. Hey, we're moving to Beverly.
Yeah. But that is also, you know, I don't know what you've got in mind for promotion, but that's
What?
the other big thing that has to go. Well, your project.
Oh, I'm gonna.
What are you going to do when it comes time to promote?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm planning on going to a bunch of conventions.
There you go.
Um, the company, the publisher. If you, I should have told this guy this. If you, my understanding is, if you're a writer, not an artist, if you're a writer, and they accept your book, you have to agree to do a minimum number of comic conventions a year.
Mm.
I think they pay for most of it. So the writer that I'm with, he goes to cons about every week. Now, not lately, he hadn't been, but so he
There
will
are
sell
no
them.
cons.
Yeah, there are no cons, but he will sell the books. In fact, I'm going to talk to him and go, hey, should we go together or should we go? Is it better to have the writer artist or is it better if I go and we cover twice as much? I was thinking about that last night. That's one thing. I don't know. You know, I thought about like doing more. I need to do. I mean, I do a podcast. You know, my
Yeah,
podcast has gotten a lot of listens lately. I'm gonna record another one tonight. I think I want to do one on pizza parlors.
well, no, that's exactly what people want to hear.
Dude,
Yeah.
my biggest podcast. I mean, by far, the one that's gotten the most listens so far by a long shot is the one I did on architecture. So
Mm-hmm.
you know, so apparently there's, for whatever reason, whatever I put on there for my tags, people. I have been doing really well this week. I think this week I've had, well, no, not this week. For the past week. Let me put it that way. I've probably had 100 people listen to my podcast. Which,
Well, your new record would be the day you say, "Okay, now I'm going to tell you everything I want to say about Star Wars." So there's ways to drive traffic, obviously.
yeah, I've thought about different things.
Like when we,
I'll
oops,
do a live stream on Wednesdays with my friend Ellis.
yeah, there you go. My Apple Pencil battery is getting low.
Oh no!
Well, you know, all I have to do is hook it up to recharge it.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait to get your book in, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to you because I know you're a kind of a speed reader. So you can actually be a person that actually reads it.
I will read
Eh,
it and I'll
Oops.
leave a review on Amazon.
Oh wow, cool.
I may talk about it on the podcast unless I don't like it. If you don't hear it, I either couldn't get through it or I didn't like it.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I mean, I like all of your work. I think you're.
No, no, no. I mean, basically, the biggest thing is the biggest mistake, or I'm not saying it right. The biggest flaw of anything is to bore you,
Oh
and
yeah,
there is no controlling whether or not someone is bored by something you're compelled by, and
yeah.
so that'll be the key. Is like if you can even keep your eyes open reading it, you
If I
know.
can stomach it.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of keeping your eyes open, I think I've
Yeah.
had trouble sleeping lately. This whole working at home and working at work thing is really throwing off my sleep schedule.
Throw it off your circadian rhythm.
Oh,
Yep.
something's going on, man. Because I'll be tired and then I'll go to bed. I just can't sleep. Have I told you Michelle and I've been running?
Yeah. I mean, I knew you were,
Oh,
but
dude.
are you getting
Yeah. I mean, I
getting
can tell.
conditioned?
Yeah, I can tell. I mean, it's like, okay, I can do this with no problem, which is good. My work has a 5K every year, and honestly, I'll be honest with you, I think either one of us could go in there, put on some shorts, throw on some running shoes, and run a 5K with no problem. We've been running that much. And I mean, you've ran. You know how it is when you
Oh
run,
yeah.
and you get to the point where you're like, okay, I feel strong. You know, maybe not strong not the right word, but you're like, I feel like I could run. If I found my pace, I could run from here to Arizona with no
Exactly.
problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That's
could do that. It's no problem. Not even a concern about it.
I got into running heavily, and at one time, and I read that James Fix book, Running,
No, yeah,
and I just absorbed that, and I realized this is what I want. This is my identity now. And I told you, DL Nelson quite believed I could have been doing it, but I was commuting from Northwest Portland and 10th about the where the our state
fair.
fairgrounds
Yeah, the
are.
fairgrounds.
I was commuting from there to Opupco daily
Oh,
by
that's not very far.
jogging.
That's not
Yeah,
very
it's
far.
not very far if you really lay it
No,
out on a
what
map,
is it? Is it 5 miles? 4 miles?
something like that.
Hmm.
But I tell you what, back in the day, I would tell people that, and they just say, "What?" You know.
Yeah, I'd be more worried about the neighborhood you had to run through.
Oh, I ran through some shaky places. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. 5 miles is still a run, but I
Yeah.
mean, if you're running every day, I mean, that's not. Man, my dad used to run 10 miles a day. Did for years. You know, my problem is going to be because we're doing it like we'll do it in the morning, and like because tomorrow I'm working from home, and so we'll do it when we get up. We'll do it, and then I'll be back and clocked in time to work. And not miss a beat. Clocked in, showered. I mean, I'll be ready, but I can't do that. Like I couldn't do it today because I got to drive to work. So in a week when I go back to work, I don't know what I'm going to do.
So movies, I've been, yeah, this whole commute stuff has got to. But it sounds like your company has adapted to it. You know, very. They just took up a new form. Basically, they morphed into what they needed to morph into.
Yeah, there's some issues I think, but it's funny because I stay the days I'm home. is so calm and peaceful, and the days I go to work, it's just chaos. I'm
Well,
running around, and I
mhm.
realize why. Like on days when I'm home, I'm like, this is so boring. It's like, oh, because I like that chaos.
Yeah,
I love having to just
interact.
do all.
Yeah.
I like that's that's Michelle's thing. It's like I don't want to work at home. I want to have coworkers.
Hmm.
You know, I totally get that. You know, but we kind of have to adapt for the times, and what's going on is what's going on. We don't have any choice in it, unfortunately.
Well, there's people that are saying, "Hey, enough's enough," and they're going back to business. And of course, there's some hot spots that are putting the pressure on them, saying, "No, you aren't." And
No,
it's
you're
like,
not.
"Yes,
Yeah,
I
but
am."
well, I don't. I think, and I mean, well, first off, I'm going to say this, and any listeners, I don't know if we have any listeners right now. Any listeners can judge me however
None that
you.
show. Yeah.
Okay, well, they can, and there may be future listeners. And first off, let me say, when I leave the house, I wear a mask, I take gloves, I wash my hands, I take hand sanitizer. I'm doing everything that I need to do. I feel like, or that they expect us to do.
Yeah.
More than most. More than most. I'm very careful about it. And the reason being is because I have a cousin that my wife and I get groceries for because she doesn't drive. She has COPD, and I don't want to give it to her, but I have to go to her house weekly to get groceries for her, mostly weekly. We didn't this week actually, but so I'm careful not to expose myself. But having said that, and also like I don't want you to get it because I know you would be vulnerable having a missing lung or
Hmm.
whatever. Are you missing an entire lung? Part of a lung?
Hmm.
Something. Anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
you
Right.
know, I don't. I'm careful about being around people. I don't want to spread it. But on the flip side, I think we've overreacted. At least in
Oh yeah. Oh
Oklahoma.
yeah.
I mean, good grief. I think our number is like 100 per million, or maybe 1,000 per million. I mean, you break it down, you're like, your odds are like 50 in 10,000 of getting it, or something like that. And again, I'm not making light of it. I'm not saying no. We need to. I'm not saying we need to storm the Capitol with guns or any kind of that rah rah baloney.
I
I'm
can't
just. I'm
see
just.
anything I want to have that I can't get right now with our with Walmart and all that is open. I can't think of anything else I'd want. Maybe if my dentist appointment for teeth cleaning is
I went to the.
canceled, I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
I went to the dentist the other day. Well, there are a lot of businesses closed. I mean,
Yeah,
haircutting places in other states are getting just
yeah,
hammered,
yeah.
and it's
People that
ridiculous. We're killing our economy, in my
well,
opinion. For
I stopped at Brahms for an ice cream cone. It was only drive through, but I
yeah,
still got an ice cream cone.
yeah. I mean, I'm okay with that, but I think that I again, we live in Oklahoma. The cases are very minimal here. I have friends in New York that I'm concerned about because they're in an area
Yeah.
that. But I mean, you hear all these stories about how numbers are overcounted and all. I mean, I don't. I mean, I don't believe anything I hear.
Well,
So.
basically, any place that you have a lot of recycled air, you're going to
Yeah,
be a lot more vulnerable. So,
absolutely, absolutely.
and
Hey, look at that! I ain't Detroit.
excellent. Let me put you on solo. Let's look at what you've been up to. I quit doing anything on the iPad about 10 minutes ago because the pencil told me it was going to quit on me.
Your pencil died. Hey, for some
Yeah.
reason my phone's about to die. Anyway, I moved the camera. So there's
Cool.
Detroit.
Look at that.
So this is Detroit. So this is an establishing shot. And then this next shot is this thing which I hate drawing. So I've gotten to where I use, I've drawn it once and I'm pasting it.
Oh, that's a
I
good idea.
re-ink it. One of the things and I think I mentioned this before, but it's their headquarters, right? And it's got this crack in the window because the thing is they need money, and that's why they're doing all this crazy stuff. And so my conceit is this crack, if you read all 4 issues, gets bigger every issue.
Bigger.
Yeah. Well, my theory, because if you read it, a bunch of stuff happens in their office. So anyway, so this is kind of the main, kind of they've been compared to Charlie's Angels by the writer, even though they're real angels. So that would be like Charlie, or actually Bosley. But anyway, that's one of them. Anyway. And this is the flyer that I'm gonna build in Illustrator that says that they're doing a cross country race. Did you see my pencils of the monster truck, Ellis?
Let's see it.
Look
at that. Nice.
Yeah. I was pretty happy with this page.
and you use little toys for that, right? You've got some hot cars.
Okay, so here's the cheat. I took photos of Hot Wheels. I went through a bunch of Hot Wheels when they were popular. I bought a bunch of Hot Wheels, and I made a grid. So when I photographed them, I already have my ground plane defined, and so then I light box them, and then that's what I got. And I mean, I've deviated quite. I mean, it didn't have tread on it and all this stuff.
Yeah, you got to do that. You know, it's just a quick...
None of the Hot Wheels have mirrors. I mean,
Right.
But it's a good, if you know cars, using a Hot Wheel is a great way to get the proportions right and to help your perspective on drawing cars. I posted this on Instagram, and I was saying that, or somebody was asking about it, and I said, when I was in high school, I was really into cars, and so I drew a lot of cars when I was a kid, and and so this
I used
issue
to draw motorcycles a lot.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So this
I wasn't any good at it. I just was obsessed with them for a long time. I like the lines on choppers.
Yeah.
So
I would draw like Lamborghinis and stuff like that. Lotus. I was obsessed with Lotus in the 80s. After the James Bond movies, he drove a Lotus.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Ellis, it's 8:00. I think I'm gonna go.
Let's quit. It's been a good talk here. We both.
It has. I'm sorry we didn't have more people listening or watching, but
we'll go ahead and. Okay.
We'll catch them.
I'll add some links to.
We got 2 people watching now.
Oh, we do. Excellent.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Well,
anyway,
good night, all, and we'll see you soon, Scott. I'll end it now, unless you want to add something.
No, I mentioned the other day that I redid my website. So if you go check out my website at scottsackett.org, it's there on the screen.
Okay.
That'd be awesome. I'd love to get some more traffic to that. It's got kind of a range of stuff on it. I think I put. Oh no, I haven't put I showed you the VW Bug, kind of the
right
that I did for the car show. That's now canceled, by the way.
Oh, man. Well, you got to make those T-shirts anyway.
Yeah, that's what somebody said, and I'm like, well, good luck selling them. But
yeah,
they're good. They'll use it for next. They'll use it for next year. No big deal. It was fun to do. But anyway, so check that out. Anyway, that's all.
Okay. Well, same with me. I'm going to put links to a couple of things, and look for this book, The Locust Bride. That's what I'm selling. And if I come up with any other promotional ideas, come back here every Wednesday, and I may share them with you.
There you go.
Okay, we'll see you. Okay.